Today we're gonna make the most delicious prime rib or standing rib roast. Here are all the ingredients for not just the rib roast, for a delicious horseradish sauce and au jus. Coming up right now. Prime rib roast. This is actually a first cut, which is more expensive. If you look at the pictures from the printable recipe, I used a different cut, which was, first cut I believe is ribs 10 to 12. After that, it gets a little bit kind of thicker. I've made a ton of these in my life, probably 30 of them, okay? I make them every year. So what I did here, I salted this 24 hours ago. I used 1% of the weight. So this beautiful piece of meat is a 6-pound roast, so it's a 2-bone roast. So 6 times 454 is roughly 3,000 grams. So take 1% of that. That's 30 grams of salt you need. Don't get confused on this. You can look it up online too. You're gonna have to adjust this to whatever size you use. It's not a big deal. If you stay in the 1% salt to meat ratio, that includes your bones, you will be fine. You have a delicious tasting roast. The reason why we do this in advance, it dries it out and the salt goes inside of it. It makes it much more flavorful than if you just put it right on top. If you're watching this and you don't have time, you're still okay. You're still okay. You could salt it before, but it's better this way. But while we're roasting it, we're gonna do two things. We're gonna make au jus. So Americans always say prime rib with au jus. It should be prime rib au jus because that means prime rib with juice. We have neck bones here, but you can use oxtail. You can use knuckles. You can use shin bones. Any meaty bones are gonna have a ton of flavor. So we're gonna make the au jus. We'll have time to do this while our roast is in the oven. I have 3 pounds of it. 1 tablespoon of tomato paste. It's gonna give it a little bit more body. 5 cloves of garlic. I don't know, for some reason I have more here, but I guess we could put them in. It's probably gonna be all right. 1 bay leaf. I have 2 sprigs of thyme. I really want the major flavor here to just be ultra beefy. 1 medium onion, 2 celery ribs or 3 celery ribs, 2 carrots just chopped. So basically we're just making kind of a stock. The printable recipe, I used my homemade beef stock, which is infinitely better than this, which is beef base, because it has no salt. You can salt it. I am using Better Than Bouillon's reduced sodium beef base for this. This is 6 cups of it. I have the other au jus I made. We're gonna taste that. We're gonna compare them at the end. We'll see what the taste tester thinks which one is better. While that's all going, we will make a delicious horseradish sauce. 1 cup of sour cream, 5 tablespoons of prepared horseradish, 1 tablespoon of Dijon mustard, 2 teaspoons Worcestershire sauce or Worcester sauce, and then mayonnaise. It kind of helps emulsify it more. 2 tablespoons of mayo. I also had chives in it. I don't have chives today, so chives aren't gonna go in it, but chives give it a nice color. You put a little chives on top of your roast. And if you just mix this enough, it will go from brown to white again. Okay, so let's prep that roast. Set your oven to 250 degrees Fahrenheit and set the rack towards the lower end of the oven so your roast can fit. This is a better way to do this. Basically, we're cooking it low and slow, and then we're gonna sear it. We're gonna let it rest for 20, 30 minutes, and then we'll sear it in our broiler, or you could do it on your grill at the end. Now, the reason we're gonna remove this bone here is because if we don't do that now, when we're carving it later, it's gonna be more of a hassle. So we remove the bone, and we'll tie it back up. You can ask your butcher to do this, but I just wanted to show you how to do it. This is a boning knife right here, and I just wanna remove this bottom section here. Right at that outer edge of the bone here, that's where I'm gonna cut it from. And I'm just gonna try to slide my knife close to the bone so I can have the majority of my roast for beautiful slices later on. So this is the bottom here, the bottom ribs, which are beautiful, putting it right back on. So what we're gonna do is we'll tie it. Why are we tying it? We're tying it so it doesn't go all over the place and it gets a little bit more even cooking. By the way, the reason you take it out for 5 hours, 6 hours before is so this gets close to the room temperature. It'll allow more even cooking when you roast it. If you don't want to do a slip knot, you can just have help, because you will need help then. Try to slide it underneath the bone area, the first bone area. And I'm just gonna pull it over here. I'm right here like this. I'm just gonna pinch these together here, these 2 parts, okay? So now I'm going to go over, and then through, okay? And that's my slip knot there. Pull it really tight. Now you can straighten it before you do that final pull. You can even check the bottom if it's in the right spot. And then I'll pull it really tight. You see this, how I can just keep cranking on it to make it the shape I want. All right, so now I gotta tie a security knot. Let's see if I remember how to do this. So keep it like this right here. like this, come over, and then pull that through.
Your butcher will be more than happy to do this for you. They actually are gonna ask you, or they might just assume that you want it done.
There is a reason to show people how to do this, because if you buy this at Costco, which has great ones every year, they won't do it for you. This is a roasting pan. I really suggest you get one if you don't have one, because the amount of fat that this roast puts off is crazy. And in the beginning, it doesn't matter. The 250 time's not gonna do it. But when we broil this at the end, oh boy. So, you know, if it hits the oven and starts smoking and all that. If you don't have one of these, stop and run to the store and get one of these, because without one of these, how are you gonna know what the temperature of your prime rib is? Stick it into the middle of your roast. And the way to do that, so like you can size this up this way now. Okay, it's this is the length of it right here, this much. Okay, so I know then if I hold here, right about here, and I go in, that's gonna hit the center of the meat. Okay, right about there. Okay, the meat is 54 degrees because I've had it out for like 5 hours. They say to try to get it up to room temperature. This thing would take a day to get to room temperature in here. So my oven's on 250. It's gonna go in. You don't have to worry about a time, but I will tell you a 6-pound roast, 6 or 7 pound roast is gonna take roughly 3 hours. If you like it really rare, set this for about 112 degrees. But I like to do 120. After it rests and we broil it, it'll be up to about 135, which is a perfect temp, internal temp, in my opinion, for prime rib. Nice and pink, but not bright red. If you like it bright red, you only want to cook this to about 110, 112 right now. Okay? Simple as that. I have an 8-quart pot here. This is going to be sufficient to make our beef juice. Heat it up to a touch higher than medium heat. You could use vegetable oil here if you want. Olive oil's fine too. We just want to brown these bones. This is stainless. I'll let it heat up for a couple minutes. These bones are neck bones, which have a lot of meat. You can actually eat this meat after you make it. You don't have to throw this out. But these are extremely inexpensive. Because this is such an expensive dish, you know, you saved here on doing it. These were only $1.49 a pound. The meat itself that we purchased was $13.99 a pound. All right, I'm gonna put some olive oil down here, just a couple tablespoons. Take your bones, you can dry them off before you put them down. And just get them in. We just want to get color on these bones so they can impart more flavor. You know, now, if I wasn't cooking at 250 in the oven, or if I did this before, I could roast these bones at like 400 degrees, but since I'm cooking my prime rib at 250, I can't do that. I'm trying to do everything here so you can do it all in one shot, and you have the perfect amount of time to do this, to make your au jus while your rib roast is roasting. Let them get brown on one side, turn them over, about 10 or 12 minutes to brown all the sides. Those temperature gauges, sometimes they're a little off. You have an instant read as well. I use this all the time. When that thing says it's 100, go start checking with this thing. Just open it up, check, confirm that it's doing the same. So see, like nice and brown on one side there. Just flip them over. You can turn them upright, you know, hit that part of the bone, like that part of the bone right there. Okay, so you've got really nice color there. See, like beautiful color. That's good. You know, you don't have to hit all sides, but I probably did about 10 minutes. I'm just gonna take all my vegetables here, throw them in the pot. If you're browning, darkening, I don't think you can see the bottom of my pan. It's getting a little dark down there, so I can just deglaze with a little water, or my stock. So I can just do a little bit to start right now. And all that's gonna do is prevent me from burning. Regular recipe, I would put salt on here. I'm not gonna do that because we're putting all the beef stock in already.
Would you ever put wine in au jus?
That's one of the ingredients I forgot to tell you about. If you can't drink alcohol, you don't need it. I'm gonna put the tomato paste in here too, 1 tablespoon. All right, so I'm just gonna let this kind of mix together for about 10 minutes, just to get the vegetables a tiny bit soft, and a little bit of color on them, but not much. So 1/2 cup of red wine, you don't have to measure. Oh, I forgot the garlic. The garlic was supposed to go in earlier. It doesn't matter either, it's going in right now, okay? Turn the heat up to high. This is 6 cups of beef base. As I said, use our homemade beef stock recipe. It will be better, but we will find out at the end which one is better. Okay, see how my beef base is completely stuck to the bottom there? like that. Make sure that doesn't happen. You got to get that out of there. All right, just a little bit more water. Okay, 2 sprigs of thyme. I'm only using 2 sprigs because I don't want this to be like really loaded with thyme. 1 bay leaf. Once it comes to a boil, just turn it down to a simmer. We're gonna let this simmer uncovered for the whole entire time that our roast is in the oven. Just take a wooden spoon, flat edge wooden spoon, and then just feel the bottom and remove any of those brown bits sticking to the bottom of your pan. So now turn it down to a simmer. One thing I forgot to mention, was like a tablespoon of pepper on the roast. That is a rib roast in only 2 hours and 20 minutes. Now, it's actually 115 degrees I have. It's a little wider on this side, a little longer, a little shorter on this side. So also double check here with this one. You know, by having something that's not completely perfectly shaped, you will have more of a cooked side here, more of a rare side here. You can maybe tie a little tighter here, try to force the meat this way. But ultimately, you know, when you buy these roasts in the store, you're gonna see they're oddly shaped. So it's 115 now on the thicker side. I think this is going to be perfect. You can pull this probe out now. You don't need it in there anymore. You can use your instant read from this point on. Tent it with foil, just like this. It's gonna stay warm. It's gonna raise another 10 degrees roughly, maybe 12. It's gonna push that back up to about 125. And then when we broil in the oven, wait 25, 30 minutes. You gotta let these juices absorb in here. Then it's gonna kick it up another 5 degrees. Our au jus was going for 2.5 hours. We're still gonna put the beef drippings in. You can see how this looks right here. These bones, ton of meat right here. Save it for stew. All right, I'm gonna put these off to the side and then we'll strain it. Try to press everything through a little bit. Those carrots are good too. You can do something with them. Okay, we have a tiny bit more than a quart. Now, the roast is probably gonna take you more like 3 hours to do at 250. You probably have right around that 4 cups. This is a perfect like consistency for au jus. And that is good. That is really good. Doesn't need any salt. Definitely doesn't need any salt. So listen, just cover this, keep it warm off to the side. Okay, the moment of truth. I have my broiler on and I'd recommend you take a large piece of foil, Costco foil, whatever, put it on the lowest level of your broiler. Once the broiler is hitting this is gonna go from this to beautiful color, okay? But it's gonna splatter. If you have a grill outside, use it and get big tongs, whatever tongs you have. You could even put a fork in here, but you don't really wanna do it. You're gonna do up here for about a minute or 2. Okay, your broiler is gonna be different than mine. You're gonna turn it over on its side. You're gonna do 2 minutes on this side and like 2 minutes on the other side until it gets really brown. You just gotta watch the whole time. You can even keep your oven door open the whole time. You're using the broiler. It's not an oven. It doesn't have to stay closed. So this has been like maybe 2 minutes. You can see how much browner that's getting on top. You can let it go longer though. Just keep an eye on it. Maybe another 30 seconds, 45 seconds, and then we'll just turn it over. Okay, then you just pull it out and then just kind of flip it over like that. Right back in and just let it get brown on this side. Drippings are on here. There's not a lot of them, I said. That's tented, that's good now. That could be sliced. Okay, just turn it up to like a 6 out of 10. You can deglaze with anything here. You could use water. If you think your au jus is too strong, use a little water. Flat edge of your wooden spoon, like always, and just move everything around. So look, that is simple as that. Everything is smooth now. Turn it off. Okay, pouring it all in. Now there's a ton of fat on top of here, like probably a 1/4 inch, and au jus does not supposed to have any fat in it. I'm just using paper towels. I'm doing the paper towel trick again. Can I do it a different way? Can I put ice cubes in here like somebody on TikTok did? Of course I can, but that ain't happening right now, okay? So look, just remove your string first. Just come in, the bone comes right off. Now you can take this bone and you put this right in the broiler here, and this part will cook up. This part's already nice. You can cut these into 2 beautiful rib bones for people, or you can save them. But I'm just gonna wrap them in foil. By doing that, makes slicing this a heck of a lot easier right now. So this is not the right cutting board. I need a bigger one. I don't have one right here. You want a big one with a juice groove. This is a slicer knife. Buy one of these. It's like, this is, what is this, Victoronics, $38. I'll link it. This thing is unbelievable. And just a slicer is just absolutely perfect. That's the end piece right there. So this is how it looks, perfectly pink, like this. Take a thermometer to it after doing the broil and everything. 130 to 135. That's what I want and most people want. If you do it too rare, it's kind of chewy, it's not the best. Right there is 129.4, perfect. And if you're looking at this now and you're saying, Jim, that's not red enough for me, let it sit for 10 minutes and it will be completely red, all right? Right when it comes out, when it's piping hot like this, that's when it's like that pinkish, it changes color again. I'm gonna take another slice right now. With this slicer knife, I can cut super thin slices if I want for people. Okay, Liz, some people just want a really thin slice like that. Is it salted enough?
I think so. Oh my God.
Good?
That's so good.
So the au jus you have right now is the one I just made. Now this is the one that I made with the homemade stock.
Okay.
The roast is right here. I'm gonna stick it in the oven. The oven is off. It's basically not gonna cook anymore, but it's gonna keep it warm. You can do this when you're waiting for, your family members to get to the table.
Okay, so I'm gonna close my eyes.
Yep, blind taste. That's number one.
I think that's better than bouillon.
And here is number two.
Oh man, that is definitely homemade.
You're wrong.
No way.
That's the homemade. That's the better than bouillon.
Are you serious?
Yes, and listen, let me tell you something. I tasted the better than bouillon one, and it's really good. Yeah,
What?
you know what it is? Look at the difference. This is richer. They're similar. There's a different mouthfeel. This one has a lot more fat in it right now.
That's exactly why I thought that
Yeah.
that was the homemade.
See the big fat ring on top of it?
Yeah.
And then this is cold now. I should have kept it hotter. And listen, that should make you feel better if you go with the better than bouillon route. Is it too rare for you like that or not?
No, this is perfect for me.
Perfect for me as well. I just hope that this is taking any worry out of your mind about making this. The only thing, and I don't know if I stressed it enough, you will set off your smoke alarm if you don't put foil below, and kind of open your windows even if it's freezing out, which it is freezing out because you're making this during Christmas time. The whole point of doing it this way is that you get a perfect rosy ring around your whole entire roast, versus if you do the starting high method, you're gonna have a lot grayer ring and you're gonna have less pink in the middle. Yeah. That's the point of doing it this way.
I really want something like a side dish. So I would have creamed spinach or Brussels sprouts or
mashed potatoes.
Mashed potatoes would be really good.
Mashed potatoes.
And of course Yorkshire pudding.
Yeah, that's the one downside. You don't get the drippings when you start low. You get when you start high, because when you start high, it starts melting the fat and it puts it all into the pan.
I think you could still pull it off. Delicious, great job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.